Welcome to the Don't Call Me Midlife podcast.
Hi, Alex.
Okay, ladies, you are not going to want to miss this episode. Our friend Mickee is coming on. She is a health and wellness coach. She is a PN1 nutrition coach. She's a personal trainer, a mom of 3 boys. She lives in California. She's an awesome person. So whether you're in perimenopause.
Wait, don't forget about her degree in kinesiology.
Yes, that degree.
There's more.
There's more. So if you are in perimenopause, menopause, or don't even know what we're talking about, this episode is for you. You will learn lots of tips and tricks, how to listen to your body, and just knowing that we are all in this community together is going to be comforting, and that we're bringing to light all the information, and you can feel your best no matter what age, right, Nicole?
Absolutely. The more you know, ladies. Let's dive in.
The more you know. All right.
Hi, happy Thursday.
We have Mickee Stillman here, and I can't even believe that she found the time to meet with us. She is one of these people that I just adore. So I am just so excited to jump in. She's going to talk all things health and wellness. She is a personal trainer. She is a wellness coach, and just like an overall fun, cool person. So we're so excited you're here, Mickee. Thanks for being here.
Yay. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
Yay. Okay, Nicole, first things first, what's in your cup?
Girl, I have a lot of caffeine, and I thought I was going to be healthier this morning. So if my brother's listening, because he gave me some healthy bone broth to drink, but I just didn't get a chance. I'm drinking lots of coffee because I had a big travel day yesterday and woke up super early. But that's what's in my cup. What's in my cup. How about you, Alex?
Well, to probably your surprise and maybe the listener's surprise, I do have no caffeine. I normally am super caffeinated, but today I am drinking, I don't know if you guys drink Spindrift. This flavor, Nojito, is like my favorite. It's like a non-alcoholic mojito or whatever you call it, I guess. So I'm just drinking a seltzer water. Today I've had some coffee, and so I'm good. I'm well rested, so I don't need afternoon coffee. Yay! Mickee, what's in your cup?
Okay, I got 2 cups. Because
double fisting.
All cups. I got figurative cups. I got literal cups. All the things. I start my day with lots of coffee because I need all the caffeine a girl can get. I usually put some protein powder in my coffee by like the second or third cup to kind of get my, myself just a little more leveled out. And then I go to water with element and creatine. So I got all the things.
So you taught me about the protein in the water. Do you use a little frother for it?
Protein in my coffee? Yes, I do. And I will tell you, I got this really awesome frother from IKEA for $1.50, and it like lived its best life until my husband decided he wanted to use it in his hot tea and honey and bound it up and didn't clean it, and I had to throw it away.
That's so annoying.
Really annoying.
That's so annoying.
So I don't get a new mini frother for Mother's Day. It's game on.
Oh, yeah, those frothers, I love those. When you taught me I could travel with it, and I do that now, and it's such a good way to just get that extra like 20 grams of protein in there. You got to be careful with that frother, because if I'm too aggressive with the frother, everything falls all over the place. I don't know if that happens to you guys. Maybe it's just me.
Okay, so a virgin I can't even talk. Virgin frother over here. I don't use one. Do you guys? Well, I don't know. I don't know what you don't know what you don't know. So I don't know what I'm missing. But do you put in a little bit of powder and froth it up, or like what's your, what's the steps?
So I just dump protein powder in my coffee and then literally just stick my frother in there and froth it. I did learn the trick though, that you got to have room. Otherwise you're covered in protein powder with the frother.
Gotcha.
And that's never good.
That's what's happened to me. That has happened to me for sure. But it's like a hot chocolate. I feel like you would like it, Nicole.
Oh, I for sure would.
Yeah, I definitely use the chocolate and stick it in there. It's like a mocha or a hot chocolate.
Yeah. It's so good.
Chocolate element tea?
I use chocolate, True Nutrition,
okay,
Hydro Beef Isolate. So it's straight protein.
Okay. I know Alex uses the chocolate element tea. So
in my coffee, it's good.
In your coffee, yeah. Okay.
I do, yeah, watermelon element in my water.
I can't.
She,
Sorry, Element Tea. I can't.
okay, Nicole like can't drink element tea. I think she's crazy. I've sent her different flavors and she can't. I mean, I love element tea. I can put it in like my tequila drink, like a margarita. It's so good.
Is it too salty
No.
for you? Or
Yes.
I only do like a third or a half a packet.
Oh,
I don't dump a whole one.
It's too salty for me.
Yeah, just do a third.
It was a whole packet and a 40 ounce. I just can't.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Okay. Alex.
I only
was
use
listening to
half a packet
Alex.
a day.
It's your fault, Alex.
Well, I refresh my water during the day. I mean, I do think it could be a little too salty. Maybe it's like baby steps, Nicole, like just a little quarter of a packet, you know.
Okay. Chills
no.
thinking about
She's
it.
a no. She's a hard no, guys. She's a hard no. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we love your drink. Every time we have a guest on, everyone has a different drink. So Nicole and I love learning about like different people's drinks. So what do you think about midlife, Mickey? I mean, she has 3 like grown daughters who are beautiful people. Two grown. Okay, you have 3 daughters.
Yeah.
And you, if you're watching this video, you would not even know that Mickey was like over 40. I swear. You look so good. Maybe it's California because you live in like such a fun state.
I do love where I live. I'm pretty lucky. But yes, I have 3 girls, two grown daughters, one that's married and lives out of state, so I don't get to see her very often. She's 23. And then I have a 21-year-old daughter that's getting ready to go to nursing school. And then we have our 11-year-old little Fireball, so who still lives at home.
I forgot you had a little.
Oh, yeah.
That's so fun.
She's great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like prepubescent and you're perimenopausal. What's that like?
Oh, it's great.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of fun. So, I feel like it's better now that, I'm starting to get things kind of like under control perimenopause wise. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like the mood swings, the rage, the low energy. That was fun for a while, for sure.
Who can do it best, right? You or your daughter?
Wait, that's true, Nicole, because we talk a lot about like perimenopause, menopause, like our second puberty, but we have boys, right? So it's like there's different things that we've got going on with our boys in puberty as opposed to, I never thought about this, you guys, girls. Wow. Oh my God. Now I'm glad I don't have a daughter.
Yeah.
We're both going through puberty. My poor husband.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah.
We need like a support group for these husbands. Cause literally I'm like, you guys, I have a lot of stuff going on through my body. They're like, we know. I'm like, okay. So what do you think about midlife?
Oh, it's really, really fun. And it's a change. And I feel like, it's a weird space for me because as a like fitness and nutritional, professional, I've been working out. I've been eating healthy foods. I've been tracking macros. I've been coaching thousands of people, all these things. And all of a sudden I'm doing all the things. I have my own coach. And it's like, wait, why are things a little funky in this season, right? And so it's been kind of a fun event season, if you want to call it, but it definitely brings its challenges, I would say.
Can you talk about recently your own sort of personal journey with the sort of perimenopause, menopause? I think what you have to say about it will be really interesting because a lot of what you talk about sort of on your Instagram is, you've got the 30-year-olds, you've got the 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds, right? So when we're trying to change something with our body, what we did in our 30-year-olds is not going to work. And why? And the 50-year-olds are doing different things. So can you talk a little bit, because I know you recently had a personal journey with this and what it makes you like a more relatable, better coach, right? Because you're going through the same things. So you have from personal experience. So can you talk about what that was like for you recently?
Yeah, so for sure. So, I was an athlete growing up, played softball in college. I mean, like always was super active, did all the things, lifted. I've been lifting my whole life and tracking macros for a long time. And it was like, all these things work and you get all these results really easily. And, after a baby, it's like you can just drop your calories and it falls off. And then all of a sudden, like, in my early 40s, I'm going to be 48. In my early 40s, it was like, this is weird. I just feel kind of lower energy. I just don't feel kind of like myself. And looking back now, right, I'm like, oh, well, of course you were starting perimenopause, but like the conversation, at least in my world, was not there. The conversation is usually like, oh, just eat your protein, eat your fiber, strength train, you'll be fine. You can build muscle. You can keep getting all these results. And I was like, yeah, but that just feels like it's just not really firing for me right now. And it's really interesting because as we start to go through perimenopause, right, hormones start to go all over the place and they're like fluctuating greatly even within the month. A lot of times our energy level starts to come down, right? Like our movement starts to come down just because we're just so tired and like we got fluctuations going on. At the same time, hunger often starts to go up. Right. So all of a sudden it's like that balance of what was working before is now off. And so we start to see that we start to put on a little bit of weight or we start to store extra body fat when you're not really necessarily doing anything differently except movements changing, your hunger's changing, your energy, just the hormone shift. Right. And so we're kind of without paying attention, you can get on this runaway train all of a sudden. And then within 5 years, you're like, well, shoot, I didn't even realize that because my energy level came down a little bit, hunger just kind of increased. You might get yourself into like even a 200 calorie imbalance and you start gaining 2 pounds a month where you don't really notice it at first. And then all of a sudden within that year, you're up 10 to 20 pounds and you're like, what the heck happened? I haven't done anything different. Right. And
That was me.
You know, yeah, paying attention and realizing that we're on this runaway train in this season doesn't mean you can't make progress, doesn't mean you can't do the right things, but it might be that, oh, we got to focus on some different foundations and habits here. And so, for me, looking back, I was like, okay, I wish I would have started paying more attention hormonally about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And, if we know that menopause can average starts at 52 or so, and perimenopause can be 10 years before that. And of course, some people start menopause way earlier, way later, and it can last 10 years after you lose your period. That's 20 years of your life. Right?
Geez, Mickey, thanks. Thanks for that.
Yay!
I don't know whether to cry or be relieved knowing that information.
Right? I know, but when I first learned that, I was like, well, why are we not paying attention to like one of the most significant periods of your life and what's going on? And sometimes what I see with myself and with my clients too is like, you get stuck in this like, well, I was, this XYZ size, athletic movement, whatever, 10 years ago. Well, that doesn't necessarily apply because everything's changing, especially if you've had babies, like your body's just going to look different. Just everything's moving around. Right. So I started, really paying attention. I hired my own coach over a year ago. And I mean, it's really great to have unbiased eyes on you because even if you are a coach, right? Like, you know what to do, you know all the things, you think you're tracking, you think you're doing things, but then all of a sudden when you have someone else look at you and go, okay, these are our holes. This is what we're going to focus on. And it's very, very eye-opening and helpful. And so for me, it's like, I have spent the last year focusing on hitting maintenance calories, which that can be a really scary conversation for somebody. They're like, well, I don't want to maintain where I'm at. Like, I have all this progress to make. Like, why would I want to spend my time in maintenance? Because if our movement's down, if our hunger's up, if all the hormones are going crazy, to go into a deficit, you're just adding so much more stress on your body. You're just adding this whole new layer of complexity that your body might not be ready for at that time. It's trying to regulate itself. And now you're just like slashing calories. It's like, you're really going to stall out progress. Not only that, it becomes an extremely sad and frustrating period when all you care about is shrink, shrink, shrink when your body's going through all of this stuff. So it's not saying that all hope is gone, that you can't lose weight, that you can't do the things, but it's like having the right mindset around what's the appropriate time and what's the appropriate way to do it. So, for me, I spent about, 7 months or so doing maintenance, doing a very intentional surplus, which that's a whole other conversation. And then I went into a deficit and I spent 5 weeks slashed calories down. I dropped them by like 500 or 600 calories. And for me, the scale did not move 0.1 ounce, not 0.1. And my coach is like, what in the world is happening here? She
Mhm.
goes, aside from you doing all the work, you being super dialed in, like the only thing that's happening here is hormones. And so, the thing with hormone testing and checking, and I'm speaking from a personal experience, right? I'm not a hormone expert.
Yep.
Like I'm not a doctor. I'm just
Right.
telling you kind of what I've experienced. And even subjectively, looking at clients that I've worked with over time and like what that looks like as a coach. I've seen data sheets and sheets of information. But, for me, I was like, I had to get some blood work done. I had to do the thing. And what I realized is because I was kind of avoiding it, I was like, I don't want to know, and blood work can come back where you looks pretty normal. But when my first stuff came back, testosterone was like 11, right? And they say anything under 16 is like terrible, and so now that for me, I was like, well, no wonder I'm operating on like no testosterone, had no energy. All the work I felt like I was doing in the gym, I felt like I wasn't really building muscle like I should have been, right? For the amount of food and the amount of energy I was putting in there. Just felt like I just wasn't sleeping great, hair loss, all the things, right? And so, I worked on adding some testosterone. And again, it takes time for your body to regulate from those things. Added an estradiol patch, things like all of a sudden it's like 6 months later. It's not a week after you get the cream or whatever you're using. It takes time. Now I'm like, okay, now I'm starting to feel more like myself. Went back to maintenance calories, added 600 calories, weight stayed exactly the same. Like, why would I eat less, feel terrible about myself, be stressed that the progress is not happening like I want? Instead, I'm like, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to focus on feeling fantastic, getting those hormones balanced out. And now here it is, May? I might try another deficit in January. And I'm okay with that.
And that's so,
right?
It's a total mindset shift.
Big mindset shift.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like the long game. Like we talk about certain things that are immediate results, but perimenopause is a long game. And, I do feel like we're starting to talk about it more. So hopefully like your daughter's generation will be much more well equipped dealing with it. And, our generation now too, like with our podcast and us talking to people like you, I think is just going to change so much.
Yeah, it seems like, a lot of the messaging on social media right now is like, you can make perfect progress. You can be in a deficit and feel fantastic. Like, well, there's a lot of people that for some women, it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Like you've got to get those hormones balanced. If you force yourself into a deficit, if we force the weight off, you absolutely are going to gain it back. It's not sustainable, right? So to do it where you're maintaining muscle mass, where you're taking care of those hormones, where you're making sure your metabolism is firing for the long run, right? Because we all want to be those super active, fabulous old ladies in a hot pink
those
bikini,
grandmas,
right? Like that's our goal.
those grandmas,
right? This is the mindset you've got to have. And I think one of the biggest things for me too is like making sure that I'm in a like-minded community, that I'm surrounding myself with people that are being, number one, realistic, and number two, embracing that growth mindset, even with muscle, even with maintaining foundations and habits and being really positive, because it can get overwhelming when all we see on social media is a handful of super fabulous people that look like they crush everything with no problem.
with
right?
these instant results, right? And so I think I didn't realize at this age, it is a journey, right? And I agree with you.
Everything.
I wish everything, whether you're talking about mindset, it's with your mind, your body, your soul, like everything right now, our kids, like all the stuff that we're dealing with, like give yourself a little bit grace. I wish, I had known about this in my early 40s, right? Cause I'm 46 and almost like did a blood test of where was my baseline, right? Because now when I had a situation where I was like, I think I called you, Mickey. I was like a crazy person April of last year, like literally was like yelling at my husband about something so little. And my kids were staring at me. I'm looking at myself from the top and like, who is this person, right? That was like my moment. I've talked about it in the podcast. It was very embarrassing. It took a lot for me to talk, but I wish I had known like, this isn't normal, right? Because I think our parents' generation, I asked my mom about menopause. She's like, oh, it was fine. I'm like, no, I don't think it was fine because no one talked about it. But I love how you're changing this landscape for women to know, guess what? I am in perimenopause, but I can feel good, right? It may take 6 months to a year, so warn your family, but you will get there. And, in knowing when something happens and you don't feel good, a lot of times I was like, well, I'm just overly emotional. But you shouldn't not feel good, right?
Yeah.
What
I
do
think,
you?
well, that's what women hear a lot. You're just emotional. You're fine. I mean, I know I went to a doctor and he was like, you're fine. It's just, part of the aging process. You're too young. I mean, come to find out, I had hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's. I had all these things going on. And like my blood work was normal. Whatever test he did, it was normal. And I went to someone else and she's like, oh, you have Hashimoto's. Let's start doing X, Y, and Z and check back in a couple months. So, but yeah, that default, you're fine. You're just being emotional. It's just, hormones.
I mean,
My own doctor said,
Mhm.
women in perimenopause can have like something like 60 different symptoms. 60.
wow.
Oh,
So if we have like
Lovely.
2 or 3, right? She's like, that's actually pretty, some people have 10 or 12,
mhm.
right? And so wherever you are on that, in that scope of perimenopause, it's like, no, this is just the season. You're not crazy.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with you, right? Like, how can we get you to feel better? And so for some people, that is bringing in HRT. Some people don't want to do that. That's completely fine too. There's a lot of natural things you can do. But baseline, I tell everyone, is we got to change the way you eat, and we got to make sure that
Yes.
you're eating enough and that you're feeling energized. And our goal is to get biofeedback to where you're like, I feel energized, I'm sleeping better, my workouts are good, I can go for a walk, right? If you are in a space where all of a sudden, a couple of years ago, you could, you'd have dinner and you'd clean up the dishes and do the counter and all the things. Well, now all of a sudden, and I noticed this for myself, all of a sudden I was like, there were dishes still on the counter the next morning. I just didn't have the energy to like put them away.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was like, that was one of those things where maybe your steps aren't necessarily decreasing, but if that daily little bit of movement, just wiping off the counter, getting the dishes done at night, sweeping up the floor, all of a sudden that stuff just kind of starts to, you don't have the oomph. You walk through your messy garage and you're like, it's fine. Well, before you would have been like, I got to clean this. That's a sign, right? That there's something energy wise that's not firing on all cylinders. And I wish I would have known that, because I was like, maybe I'm just tired.
Yeah.
But no, it's like, no, there's something imbalanced that I need to get like in line first.
What do you see a lot of the women, because I know you do group coaching, you do one-on-one coaching. Is there a trend that you see with women coming to you with a similar questions and challenges? Whether you're 30, 40, 50, I'm just saying, like, your overall clients, what are some of the trends that you're seeing right now where women are having like overall just challenges, I guess? I'm just curious.
So it's a great question. So I think the first thing that I noticed, and maybe more so like last year, and it could be sometimes the people that I'm speaking to, who my audience is, right, that I have on social media. A lot of it was like, oh, I want a fat loss phase. I want a deficit. I want to lose weight. Right. And now that I've even switched my own story and I'm sharing like what I'm going through, and it's like, you know what, that's all good. Yeah. People need to lose weight. Yes. But what if we switch that and said, hey, let's get you to a place of eating enough food for a period of time first. So, and build all those habits, and let's get you strong and let's get you energized. And then we'll talk a deficit down the road. So now the people that I get coming in are like, I want to feel better. I don't feel like myself. I am willing to eat more food and work at getting stronger first. And that is a very, very powerful mindset shift. So even if we do have weight to lose, it's like, no, I know I want to do that, but I also understand why it's important to embrace this season for what it is and stop that runaway train. Because if we don't like get the data and get the information that kind of slows that train down, we're looking at a hot mess in 5 more years.
So it's looking at, you said in the beginning, like, I want to make progress, right? It's that mindset shift of what does progress actually look like? I know for myself, it's like trying to get 7 hours of sleep, right? I mean, that sounds like so silly, but I'm a better person when I get 7 hours of sleep, right? It all falls around it. So focusing on those other biofeedback markers, right, that aren't necessarily weight loss, but it's stress, right? There's sleep. Aren't there 6 of them that you talk about?
Sleep, energy, like especially in the afternoon, hunger,
Yep.
right? Your workouts,
Mm-hmm.
your, of course, I'm having
Stress.
now.
I think stress.
Stress. Yep. So, and I think one thing too is like, a lot of times we start to major in the minors in this season, where we get so hyper focused on, I need to fast for X number of hours. I need to eat low carb. I need to keep my calories or my macros to a specific number. I need to get all this testing done. I need to make sure my gut health is good. All of those things are great in and of themselves. I need to have a CGM on my body at all times. I need to have these DEXA scans. People start to get so bogged down in these like little things, that these tools and these tracking habits that can be good, but they quickly become where you major in those minors instead of like taking a step back and going, okay, so the way I coach is flexible tracking, right? So we focus on protein, we focus on fiber, and we focus on a calorie range that is healthy and sustainable for you to hit 7 days a week. We focus on hitting daily steps, 8 to 10,000 steps every single day, no matter what. And sometimes, when people start tracking, they're like, well, shoot, I'm only like at 5,000.
So interesting.
Like, all right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go to 6. And doesn't mean you have to go for an hour-long walk. Start by doing, a lot of times I have in between calls, right? I'll have 10 minutes. So I'll go walk 4 minutes down my driveway, 4 minutes back, and get back on a call. So those little habits like that, they add up really, really quickly. So we want to get like a nice broad view of what our specific health and wellness plan is, because everyone's different. Like you said, Alex, like there's seasons where all you're focusing on is on your sleep, because you know that your business is growing and taking off. And it's like, how do I take care of those things that I need, that are going to help make me a more productive and better mom. Right. So maybe it's sleep. Maybe it's just, eating enough food overall, eating enough protein. Just focus on tracking your protein. You don't have to, every macro doesn't have to be dialed into 5 grams. Like just hit your protein, eat enough food, drink some water.
I think that's a huge like myth that people start eating less. Right. I have a lot of friends that I'm like, you need to eat way more, or they're eating some of the wrong, like they order a salad. Right. And like, there's just like, I'm like, order double protein. And they're like, wow, that's a great idea. So I think it's just like changing this landscape on what you should be doing and not what you shouldn't, right? Because there are so many things during this age and this point in our lives that we can do, right? Those little wins are what keep you going, right? I'm like, I have an Oura ring. I'm like, yes, I got 7 hours of sleep. This is amazing. Or I drank water, right? I think hydration is like a huge thing. Right. Well, I do love my Stanley, but just drinking those little habits, drinking a cup of water before you have your coffee. That was like a huge thing for me. These little shifts that you talk about, and really, really paying attention to your body. Cause I didn't do that in my 30s. I was like, I'm good. Like, this is awesome, until I literally turned 46 11 months ago. And I was like, what is going on? So I think I wish I had also known earlier to listen to your body, because we're go, go, go all the time as busy moms, that taking that moment, even 5 minutes a day, to check in with yourself on all those type of things that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, we're so good at handling stress in our 30s, right? Like you got toddlers, and generally like you just can handle your stress. And then all of a sudden that stuff starts to build up. And then perimenopause, we just don't handle stress like we did before. Right. And we've got different parts of our life. Sometimes we're dealing with, like for myself, I've got grown girls, but I've also got a little one at home, plus ailing parents.
Yeah.
So now I've got those things going on, where in your 30s, generally like your life is, you're generally. Parents are pretty healthy. You're not the caretaker necessarily for someone else too. But as you get older, like all that stress and stuff and the way you can handle it shifts significantly. So, it's so important for me that I get that message out that there's seasons and we can't be focused on shrinking ourselves and being the smallest version of ourselves our entire life. Like there's seasons where you got to have that growth mindset. You've got to have that space where you're like, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm sitting 10 or however many pounds heavier, but I'm feeling really good. I'm learning what it means to put myself first for the first time. I'm learning what it feels like to, feed myself enough nutrients in the day and have water and to maybe start pulling back on alcohol even, right? So in our 30s, I mean, we can go out and party all night and keep rolling the next day. All of a sudden you're in your 40s, you have one glass of wine and you feel like you went to an all night, event in
that's
Vegas
like the worst. The worst.
Yeah.
Like literally
That should be
worst.
the first sign
Number
in
one.
perimenopause.
I think we should write a checklist. Number one, you have one glass of wine and you're hungover the next day. Like that is
For a week.
sign. For anyone for all of our listeners that are listening to this, if you feel that, that's the shift. And it's good and it's bad. It's good and it's bad.
Yeah.
If you have one glass of wine and you feel terrible the next day, if there's dishes on your counter, if you want to kill everyone in your house,
thinks you're crazy person.
All signs.
Yeah.
If people are looking at you with a side eye,
Right.
they're shifting.
That's amazing.
These are the signs. Mickey, you need to do a funny reel like that. That would be hilarious.
Right.
I do like the funny reels.
You do like funny reels. I like that. What if we have our listeners here, our ladies that are thinking, gosh, I'm 45, and if I'm feeling some of the things that you guys are saying, like I'm really listening to what you're saying. What do you think is just, if you were going to give advice, Mickey, on what is the first thing that a woman, I know there's lots of different things, should focus on, right? At this point in our lives, if maybe you have low energy, you can't drink as much, you're not feeling as strong, like your workouts aren't as good, right? Because that shift from cardio to strength training is like a whole nother podcast, but that's an important part of it, right? We've got these people, I used to do the Peloton and Orange Theory and sort of all this stuff and sort of shifted more to strength training, which is important. And I think that word is getting out. But if you have someone that's feeling like some of these symptoms, like you said, what do you think is the first thing they should do?
Okay, so for me, because I'm a nutrition coach and this is where I dive in, I'm going to say the absolute first thing we need to do is really be completely honest and track all your food. And so what happens so many times is we give ourselves these limits, and at Monday morning, we're just going to like restrict Monday through Thursday. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, like you kind of like start to lose that white knuckle hold on your nutrition. Yeah. And so maybe we don't track dinner on Thursday night, or Friday, we track a couple meals, or, maybe we're like, we restrict during the week so that we can have fun on the weekend. Yeah. But what happens is what we start to see is that puts most of my girls that come in into this accidental maintenance, accidental surplus scenario of nutrition, right, where the majority of the time that just stores extra body fat. It doesn't really do anything good for you, right? So we start to track, and I tell people, if you're going to have 14 margaritas on Sunday night, just track them all. If you can remember.
Or have them on Wednesday night.
Or Wednesday. Whatever. I only said Sunday because yesterday was Cinco de Mayo. But, just track them, because then we're going to see what you're actually consuming. And then we might start to go, okay, well, your weight's staying pretty flat, but you're actually consuming, 2,000 calories average a day. So instead of putting yourself at 1,400 Monday through Thursday, just start eating 2,000 every day, and let's see what that feels like. And then all of a sudden they get to this place where like, wow, I can actually do this. This feels really good. So we do that for a period of time, right? So we start eating enough food, but consistently. Yeah. We focus, like I said, flexible track. We just get around that calorie range that you need to be at. Hit enough protein, hit enough fiber. Carbs and fats can fall where they may. They really can, right? So focus on your overall nutrition for several weeks. See how you start to feel. Drink enough water. Get outside in the sunshine. Start adding in some steps. Those people that then start to do that, that makes a huge difference for the majority of people. once we start doing that, right, then we can start diving into some of the deeper things.
Right.
So then we start to go, okay, now we're going to focus a little bit more detailed on maybe some of those macros, or maybe your specific workouts, or what does your strength training workout look like? How can we challenge that a little bit more? So then we spend time, and now we're really focused on those strength training workouts. So then we work on that. And then after a while, some people get really, really dialed in with things, and they're like, you know what, this feels off. Because now all of these things have balanced out. And for many, many people, those simple habits will fix many of the hormonal, sex hormone kind of symptoms that they're having. Not everyone. Sometimes then after you get those foundations set, now we can go, okay, maybe you should get some blood work done to see where your baseline is. Maybe now you should maybe do a Dutch test or saliva test or whatever that looks like for you specifically, right?
Yeah.
Maybe those types of things. So a lot of times we skip all of this work first because that's slow and boring and requires, consistency
and dedication.
Do that,
yeah.
Right? I'd rather just go get tested and see if I can get a cream. No,
Right.
Because even when you do that, when we add, for me, it was like adding that testosterone cream, it pulls water in. Yeah, the scale went up. Didn't change anything. It wasn't I gained a bunch of fat.
Right.
It's just there was a little extra water weight.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I'm understanding how that all works together. And so I always recommend, like, the first thing you need to do is like really focus on taking good care of yourself with your nutrition and your workouts, and not doing it from a place of self-hatred, panic, or fear, because majority of women start to go like, I gotta lose weight because I'm not loved where I'm at. And that's not true. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that is a huge mindset shift. I remember when it was like, I was in that cycle of so good. And then you're like eating all this stuff on the weekend or drinking. And when I had I think it was like pizza for the first time in a while, like on a Wednesday night, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the coolest thing ever. And my kids were like, what are you doing? Is this like a cheat day? And I'm like, no, this is not. So giving yourself, like, you can't just eat all this stuff on the weekend. Like, it is 7 days. It is the consistency, right? And I think that's a huge mindset shift for women, how we grew up with our moms and our generation. So girls, you can have pizza on a Wednesday.
Women,
Yeah.
Women also, we don't understand that when you eat enough food 7 days a week, it changes everything.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you just have this food freedom that you probably have never experienced before.
Yeah.
It's an amazing place to be at.
Restricted mindset. So you're in this like shrinking mindset where all of a sudden you're like, how about if I let go of some of that just for a season? I'm not saying go YOLO,
Right.
go crazy. Because let me tell you, that has actually happened to my friends where they're like, what do you mean? These are, and I coach from minimums, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, hit 30 grams of protein minimum and aim for, 1,900 calories minimum. They're like, minimum? I can go over? And it's like, well, you can.
Right. Don't go crazy.
You want to do it still. There's prescription here in how we want to do this. But I'm not saying go YOLO, but you also, once you start to shift that mindset and really pay attention, it's freeing.
Very,
very.
It's freeing. A lot of people will say tracking food or tracking your macros, whatever works for you, is so hard, and it's going to not let me eat what you want. It's actually freedom, because once you see what you're eating, you can eat more of the good stuff, and you really make those intentional choices of what makes you feel good, right? Like my husband, I mean, he's a guy, but he can't eat fried food anymore, right? So he knows that about himself. So it doesn't make him feel good. So I'm like, so why would he eat it? I'm like, I could never give up my French fries. But, it's that part of the nutrition of listening to your mind and what feels good for you, and not having that restriction, because no food is off limits. No food is bad. Like, all food is good food, right? I mean, with a few exceptions, but so if someone's listening, start with your nutrition, look at what you're doing, and being consistent doesn't mean you have to eat rice and, chicken every day.
Right.
Cauliflower.
Right. No, thank you.
Right.
But where can people find you, Mickey? If they're like, I want to talk to you more, learn more.
Yes, for sure. So Instagram, you can find me on Instagram at sortafitmick. my name, Sort of Fitment. And I have like a whole little like thing in there. You can actually schedule a free 20-minute consult if you're thinking about one-on-one coaching, or even I do group cohorts also, which is really cool because I work for a company called Elevated Pursuit Nutrition, EPN, and our goal is that as you go through nutrition coaching with us or cohort coaching with us, that you're never going to need another nutrition coach when you graduate. Like, you will know so much about yourself. You will have learned how to implement true periodization for your year, and you're going to have the tools that you need to take yourself to that next level. But it starts with maintenance calories. So eating enough food.
Mickee is a numbers person.
Yeah.
It is a numbers person, like she said. And I have done both her individual coaching and group coaching. And I like the group coaching because if you are looking for a community, like she's saying, of like-minded individuals, I mean, these people, you share pictures of food, right? If you're into that, you don't have to, you can share your win, right? There's a lot of different ways that you can participate in these cohorts if that's your jam and that's going to fill you up. But also Mickee does one-on-one, and I just love talking to her. I was like, I don't think I can track macros, but I might keep these meetings so I can just talk to her. She is such a wealth of knowledge and really keeps you grounded in terms of like who you are and where you want to go, right? And realizing that journey is just as important because the end game is going to be different every single time. So that journey is going to make you who you are. And I like how you talk about seasons because we're coming to the summer, right? There's going to be more food, more parties, more, cocktails if you drink cocktails. But so maybe right now isn't the time for you to be in a deficit. Maybe it's like, you know what? I just want to get my hormones straightened out and I just want to hit maintenance and enjoy my summer, right? Not going YOLO.
And feel good.
And feel good.
Yes.
Put on that bathing suit, feel good, go to the beach with your kids, go to the pool with your husband, like do the exercise, feel really, really good. And then, but Mickee helps you through that sort of every season. And she's just so kind and just helps you along the way in every aspect. So reach out to her for sure. I love her. And so, so what we've given a lot of advice, right? Maybe Mickee doesn't have to do this, Nicole, because she gave like so much advice already.
She did. Maybe she can give like unsolicited advice about raising 3 girls.
Yeah, raising 3 girls in perimenopause and puberty and all of that. Yes, give us
or whatever you
trick.
want. Yeah,
give us your trick.
Okay, so here is one piece of advice that I tell my girlfriend. So I am in this wine club. Okay, so there's 5 couples in our wine club, and we are all different phases of life. And there's one of the girls is a grandma, right? And, she's gorgeous and fabulous. Wouldn't guess that she's a grandma, but she has grandbabies. And then our other one friend just had a newborn infant baby. So we've got the full gamut of newborn to grandma going on in our wine club. So we have a lot of fun in there. But and then some of us have daughters and sons at all different ages. And so I think the biggest piece of advice I like to give is, now that I have come through, getting 2 daughters out of the house, they're functioning adults, they are fabulous, right? Like my husband and I joke, we're like, those 2 girls are so amazing in spite of their parenting.
Because of their parenting.
I don't know. We failed them in a lot of ways, but looking back, and when you're in the weeds of like middle school, high school, especially with girls, because I don't have sons, I don't know, but sometimes it feels overwhelming, and you're like, they hate me, I don't like them, this is never going to end, like what's going to happen to us, are we going to be friends when they're older? And it's really frustrating. And so, but coming out of it, adult kids are a whole nother level of spectacular. They are so much fun.
Yeah.
And, of course, we've had to say our sorries and move on and all the things, but seeing that, and it just really helps me in the moment now with the 11-year-old when I'm going through these things. I'm like, okay, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's really hard right now, but you come into it with a little bit more grace and kind of patience, because you're like, hey, these kids are having really big feelings, just like us in perimenopause, when we don't know why we fly off the handle, same kind of thing. Right. So now it's like, okay, now I'm kind of like, you have a bit of grace and, perspective, I think, in that season of their life too. So
Yeah, I love
I think
that.
that's the thing. It's going to be okay. You're going to survive and it's all going to work out. It just may feel really, really hard in that moment.
I like the part that you said that they're not going to hate you, right? Because Nicole and I have boys, and it's like, I've learned, like, I can't even talk to my middle son in the morning. Like, I can't even look at him. I can't even acknowledge him, like anything. And I was like, so I like that just be there for them, meet them where they're at, right? Because every kid has different needs. And I remember not liking my mom at this age. And now I'm like very close with her, obviously. Thanks, Mom. Love you.
Yeah.
I think my advice would be actually just follow Mickee, right? Even if you're not interested in the coaching, she has a lot of good things to learn, right? Because you may be in the beginning of your journey and like, ooh, I'm not sure about some of the things that they all were talking about today, but there's a couple things. So be open to learning about your journey. And I think your sort of Instagram page is really helpful in that, and normalizing the things when you feel good, when you don't feel good, right? And I think that's really important to do that. So yeah, that's what I would say. Keep learning about yourself. It's a journey.
I love it. Right. I've been in this industry, in this space for 25 plus years. So I've seen it all. I've been through all the things. We've been through all the, fen. Now we're going through Ozempic. I mean, I've seen the cycles of all the things. So, just like I said with the kids, like you'll get through it.
Yep.
You're going to get through whatever season you're in. And I've seen it a lot.
Oh, Nicole.
Just share my own personal experience.
What would you say, Nicole?
I would say whether you have boys or girls, because I do talk to my boys about what's going on with my body. I don't give them details, but they do know words like perimenopause and menopause. So I do think it's important to have those conversations with your children and your spouse. I mean, we're learning right now as 40-something-year-old women, like I think we just have to teach our younger generation. And like my kids, sometimes when I'm flying off the handle, they'll be like, "Are you on your period, Mom?" Like, it's just like,
no, and that'll get you more mad, right? When they say something that, I'm like, you're not allowed to ask me that. Like, what are you doing? Like, what?
But at least they're aware of like my mood shift. So I'm hoping that it would help their future partner, like that they can know that it's not personal. Maybe it's just hormones, or it's just
this will pass.
Moment in time.
Okay.
This will pass. Yeah, as Mickee said. So
although
it may not be comfortable. It may not be comfortable. What?
I think we need a husband support group, though, Mickee. You need to have a branch of your business, because I will talk to this with Alex till I'm blue in the face, right? But he still doesn't get it, you guys. Like, I think I'm going to have him listen to this podcast, because we know our husbands don't always listen to our podcast. I am going to earmark this episode and be like, listen, maybe you need a one-on-one with Mickee, like about me.
Yeah.
Maybe you need a one-on-one with Mickee's husband.
Yeah, exactly. We need a husband support group. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you, Mickee, so much. This was awesome.
Thank you, Mickee.
And it was so nice. Thank you for taking the time for us and talking about all these fun things. So we will talk to you soon. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
Bye, Nicole. Bye, Mickee.
Bye.